That's before I'm here. So why don't we get started? Good morning, everybody. My name is William Sunderland. I'm the Vice Chair of the Buffalo Water Board, and we're going to get the meeting started. Today is Wednesday, May 14th. It is now 9:01 a.m. We're going to get the meeting started. Before we get into some of the housekeeping issues, and I'll turn it over to Connor. I'd just like to take a second. Today is the 3rd anniversary of the 5/14 shooting, and just take a couple minutes or a couple seconds to remember the 10 victims who lost their lives over at the Top Supermarket. Thank you, everybody. All right, now as we start the meeting, and as we do with every meeting, we have people in attendance and people who are virtual on here, so we have a hybrid format. I'm going to turn it over to Connor, who's going to go through the housekeeping issues of the meeting, and then we will come back and start the meeting. Connor?
Thank you, Mr. Sunderland. Good morning, everyone. This is Connor Benny with GHD. I'd like to wish a warm welcome to everyone joining us for today's May Water Board meeting. And as a reminder, this meeting will be recorded. And to start things off, I'd like to introduce a couple of housekeeping measures. To reduce the amount of background noise, we kindly ask you to stay muted until you're ready to speak. And at the time you're ready to speak, please state your name and affiliation for the record. At this time, I'll begin the roll call, starting with the board members. And after I say your name, please say here or present. I'd like to start with Bill Sunderland,
Present.
Brian Gould, Janine Jackson, Debbie Lombardo,
Present.
Scott Billman,
Present.
Bill Hanley,
Present.
and Tim Donovan.
Present.
Thank you, board. I'll now move on to our regular attendees, starting with Jack McMahon,
Present.
Fawad Arab,
Present.
Charlie Martirana,
Present.
Damon Sykes,
Present.
David Hill,
Present.
Doug Foltz,
Present.
Kelly Lieb,
Present.
Bill Ferguson, Lisa Foti,
Present.
Stephen Waldvogel,
Present.
Dustin Steiner,
Present.
Matthew Adam,
Present.
Christine Wingo,
Present.
Pat Thornton,
Present.
and Jennifer Sustakowski.
Present.
Thank you all. Now I'll move on to anybody who is present at the plant who I didn't call yet. If you could please go around and state your name and your affiliation for the record, I'd appreciate that.
Michael Wolez.
Thank you.
Zachary Cox, Veolia.
Thank you. I think that's all we have there.
Eric Meachin, Buffalo Water.
Thank you, Eric. And I think we'll move on to anybody on the call, calling in remotely now. If there's anybody on the call who I didn't get to yet, if you could please state your name and affiliation for the record and come off mute.
Hi, Bill Ferguson's here, City Accountant.
Thank you, Bill.
Nate Martin, Commissioner DPW.
Thank you, Nate. And I see a 239 number. If you could come off mute.
Yes, Damon Rand, Veolia.
Thank you, Damon. Thank you, everybody. I think that covers everybody, so I'll now pass it on to Mr. Sunderland for the rest of the meeting.
All right, thank you, Connor. So board, as we do with every meeting, if there is anybody from the public, either in person or remotely, that would like to speak during the item number 3, the public comment period, please raise your hand in the chat or come off mute and we will acknowledge you and give you a couple minutes to speak your mind. So board, before you have an agenda. Please review the agenda to see if there's any additions, subtractions, modifications. I have one addition, Charlie, item number 13, which will be executive session. Charlie's got some updates for us, so I'd like to add that to the agenda. Hearing no other changes, modifications, is there a motion to approve the agenda as to form? Dylan will move. Proof? We have it properly moved and second. All in favor? Aye. Just for the record, just state your name and then aye, so that we have it for the recording.
Hanley, aye.
Lombardo, aye.
Billman, aye. Donovan, aye. Sunderland, aye. Thank you, everybody. So we're gonna move to item number 2, the approval of minutes from April 21st. Board, you have in front of you copies of the meeting minutes from the last meeting. Would you review those as to accuracy and any modifications or changes that need to be made? There a motion to approve the meeting minutes of April 21st?
Hanley, make a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting April 21st is written.
Billman, second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Hanley, aye.
Billman, aye.
Lombardo, aye.
Sunderland, aye. Thank you, everybody. All right, we're going to move to item number 3, the public comment period. If there is anybody from the public that's either remote or in person, if you would like a few minutes to speak on any subject, we welcome it at this time. Please come off mute or raise your hand in the chat. Okay, hearing none. We'll move on to item number 4, staffing update. Veolia, David.
Doug, we got the latest numbers. Sure. Morning, board. Doug Colts, Veolia. We're currently at 73% of target, 68% of budget, largely held steady from previous month. We do have some action though, for interviews and maybe some internal transfers I'd just like to highlight. Assistant filter plant operators, we currently have 4. 2 of those are being trained to move to filter plant operators with licensure, which is great. 1 is moving to pumping plant operator, correct, Pat? Correct. So we're gonna have to backfill those when those transfers happen. Chemist, we currently have 1 of 2 positions filled. We have interviewed a candidate, very promising, so we would anticipate onboarding that candidate in the near future. Chief pumping plant engineer, the list 3, we do have 3 in the title. Pat is actually acting as superintendent, so we need to backfill 2 there. Filtration plant operators, again, this is the operations position, very critical with licensure. Hopefully we can backfill with the 2 AFPOs to move into that. We'll have a full suite for FPOs. Maintenance assistants, we have 2 processing and 1 vacant. So the 2 processing, if we can onboard those quickly, that would be great. This is currently our basin cleaning season and all hands on deck is really required to do that. And then pumping plant operators, we have 2 out of 4. Those are the 24/7 positions at Mass Ave. We're going to be working with the Commissioner's Office to backfill those, and we do have a meeting today with the Commissioner and his team to discuss next steps. Any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Doug, what's the total? You said 73% of target. What's the total?
We have, currently we have 93 positions of 127. 127 is the target staff capacity. There's 137 budget.
Are those all full-time?
Yes,
So we've made up some ground.
we have.
Yes, good. Board, any other questions regarding staffing update?
Doug, is there room for current employees to move up before we go to the outside hire?
That's exactly what we're trying to do. That's what we are doing with the assistant filter plant operator position. So we're moving them. That's more of an entry level position in the door. They need a year of experience. We get them trained Department of Health to get their licensure. And then when they meet the qualifications for civil service in New York State, we'll move them into filter plant operating positions.
Doug, also the MAW positions are an entry level.
That is-
Also too.
Yes, it is. Correct.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna move on to item number 5, the capital improvement plan. Stephen?
Hi, Stephen Waldvogel, GHD. In your package, you'll find a page which outlines the next 5 or 6 years of proposed capital improvements. This is a plan that is reviewed on a regular basis and is brought to the board annually or biannually for your review and approval. By approving this, you are essentially directing staff to move forward to deliver these projects. This plan has been developed in close consultation with your engineering department, Veolia Water, GHD, and other consultants that advise the board. It is substantial. The board historically has funded a small portion of capital improvements with cash, and a majority with revenue bonds. In the 25-26 year, which is your next fiscal year, the anticipated spend here is $82 million. However, there is an important note we talked about last month. Approximately 12 million of that 82 is to refund or replenish the reserves that you have authorized being spent on current work. Okay, work that was necessary to move forward. The number that we presented last month was 11.3 or 11.4. In terms of this level plan, it was rounded to 12. So if the board were to finance the full amount, 11.3 to 12, depending on final numbers, would come back into your reserves. So in I guess gross terms, the actual new spend is about 70 million for capital improvements to be delivered starting in the next fiscal year. By approving this, Charlie, you can correct me if I'm misstating. You're not actually authorizing any spending. You're authorizing this planning process to begin. Staff will go away. They will start design where there are funds available, but we would then move towards selling bonds. Okay, so there will be subsequent authorizations coming back to this board before those bonds can actually be sold. But this is the first step to start that process. We also will go to the Finance Authority to present this plan and then to Common Council. So all 3 parties will have to approve before bonds can be sold. Now, that's structurally and maybe administratively, what's happening here. If there are specific questions on the actual projects, I'll be happy to try to explain or answer those questions as well. Peter sends his apologies. He is out of town this week. Normally Peter would, give you a briefing on this. I believe in our earlier meeting, he did brief you on many of these projects. So I won't do that now unless there are further questions. So what I think is being recommended to the board is that you receive and approve the plan as presented today. So Charlie, did I cover it well enough?
All covered.
Great, great.
Are there any questions regarding this capital improvement plan?
No, I think Peter really did a good job of explaining to us all the different categories and projects that are in the plan.
Is there a motion to approve this 6-year plan as presented?
Billman will make the motion to approve. Plan.
Lombardo, second the motion.
All right, it's been properly moved and second. Hearing no other questions, all in favor?
Hamley, aye.
Bill Nye.
Lombardo, I.
Sunderland, aye. All right, thank you, everybody. All right, we're going to move on to item number 6, the flood mitigation project time extension. Juan?
Thank you, Vice Chair. Fuad Arab, engineer for the Division of Water. This will be a quick one. The burn project that you see out there is very close to an end. We're just looking for the final piece here. We need a zero cost time extension until June 27th, 2025. Pinto will be out there working on the rehab of outfall 6. It's a 24-inch pipe that they need to relocate. That's basically it. We're there. We got some delays with design a little bit, with the permits, and with lead time on material.
So there's no cost impact?
There is no cost
this
impact.
time.
Just time extension.
Any other questions regarding the time extension? If none, is there a motion to approve GHD to revise the contract to June 27th, 2025?
Hamley, I'll make a motion to approve the request for a change contract time.
Billman second.
All right, it's been properly moved and second. Hearing no other questions, all in favor?
Hamley, aye.
Billman Nye.
Lombardo, I.
Sunderland, aye. Thank you, everybody. All right, we're going to move on to item number 7, the water cut rehabilitation contract, additional engineering services. What?
Vice Chair, Fuad Arab, engineer for the Division of Water. This is a change order to Wendell's existing contract. It's in the amount of $39,100. This will get us started on the design for the next phase of water cuts. Typically, per year, there are like 200 or 300 breaks that happen. Mike's guys go out there, they repair the break, and then they temporarily restore the location. And then we come back 6 months later, usually want it to settle a little bit. We come back with the permanent restoration, the 12 inches, we got your base binder and top. This design here will help us continue that cycle, which we usually bid those out every year or every 2 years. We really do not want to delay them because the longer you delay, the more holes you'll have out there, the more depression you'll have, and then you'll never catch up. So this is a great opportunity. Wendell is our consultant of choice on those. They work really well with Veolia, getting the locations, tracking them, inspecting, and obviously here to design it.
Board, is there any questions regarding this? Okay, so is there a motion to approve Wendell in the amount of $39,100 for additional work for the water cut restoration? For motion?
Billman will make the motion to approve the additional services by Wendell.
It's been properly moved and second. Hearing no other questions, all in favor?
Billman Nye.
Lombardo, I.
Hamley, aye.
Sunderland, aye. Okay, we're gonna move on to number 8, 120 water. David, from Veolia, can you explain a little bit what we do with 120 water and what the
Yes.
contract is?
Thank you, Vice Chair David Hill, Veolia Water. The lead copper program, it has been an initiative identified by the board and really the administration for many years. It's a critical initiative to protect public health and safety. And through this program, Buffalo Water and the authority are actually reducing customers' exposures to lead levels. It's a very good program and very proud of it. Veolia is partnered with third-party entity, 120 Water, to deliver a program that meets not only the water board goals, but the future compliance obligations of the lead copper rule improvements. We are tasked with complying with new laws over the next 3 years. The LCRI is what it's called. This contract here will allow us to be, really in good shape or compliant when that rule is in effect in 3 years. Parts of the program include, service line inventories. Last year, we've established a database. We've made that public. There's more items we need to do over the next 3 years. We got to continue to identify the unknowns. There's sampling that must be introduced, fifth leader sampling, where we're actually looking for the worst case scenarios in people's service lines. We're already conducting that sampling and have had good results so far. There's a whole public education component to this. We're allowing customers lead exposure and how to reduce their actions to prevent, lead exposure, like flushing taps and things of that nature. So it's a comprehensive program that aligns with the terms of the new lead copper rule and protects public health. Is the best way to express it. This is I believe last month we approved the month-to-month extension
Through the end of the fiscal year.
to the end of the fiscal year. And what this is an approval for the next 3 years.
And this was done by an RFP back in 2022.
That's correct. Yes. Yeah, Doug Foltz, Veolia, 120 Water, under the 3 vendors solicited, 120 was the only responsive bidder at that time. And our recommendation to the board, it was to stay with 120. 3 years into the program, we thought it was worthwhile to stay with them rather than change horses mid-race. And we'd have to go back out for RFP and reestablish all the protocols or products that we had established with 120 Water. So our recommendation at that time is to stay with 120. And I think largely looking at that space, I think they're probably still the best candidate in the lead and copper compliance space.
Charlie, did you?
Bill, excuse me, yeah, Charlie Martirana, Council. So you have before you a more formal resolution, if you will, that we put together that is all encompassing in that it is recognizing what Doug Foltz and David just stated and focusing on 120 Water. And the resolution also goes back and does something Commissioner Martin, as part of his administrative duties and on behalf of the Water Board, he has been previously designated as your representative in the field, if you will. And he authorized the temporary extension because we didn't have a quorum of the Water Board. So he did an administrative extension on a month-to-month basis, effective as of April 14. And we're asking, as part of your resolution today, that you ratify what he did at that time. And we didn't pick that up last time, frankly. And so now we want to be sure that's on the record. And then secondly, this 3-year agreement that they're presenting to you today, according to the prices and the costs that are set forth here. The resolution identifies on page 2, the actual amount that is per year, $761,721.28. There is a one-time fee of $39,750 in the first year. And then in addition to that, any agreements that Veolia manages for you with subcontractors, they are, by the terms of the management agreement, entitled to a 10% administrative fee to cover their costs to administer that. So this resolution carries that and basically gives authority to go forward with that.
There is one other item I will point out that we did not cover last month, but in our work with Veolia have included here. Veolia does have, as part of its base contract, a minimum number of samples that they are required to collect each year. And so they are offering back a credit to the board equivalent to that same number of samples. And you can see, so they're crediting back the price because that's already a part of their obligation under their base fee. And so that was something that we didn't include last month. And I think it's very important to show that. And I think it's important that that this was carefully reviewed and it's matched to what Veolia is doing in its base and the additional services that 120 is bringing.
Thank you.
Board, are there any other questions regarding the contract extension for 120 water?
So I understand the structure. So Veolia and Water Board are in a management agreement, and the management agreement allows Veolia to contract with 120.
That's correct. We have different authorizations in the management agreement, and there are various matters and projects that Veolia undertakes directly, but then it also subcontracts those with other entities that they determine are more qualified or expert in that particular area. For example, they buy a substantial amount of chemicals and whatnot for maintenance and operation of the system, as well as engage separate contractors. For example, when there was work to be done on the roof of the treatment plant here, they engage those contractors. They go through a bidding process of their own or a request for proposals process, depending on what it is.
Great.
And they report those to the board.
Are there any other questions regarding this? All right, is there a motion to approve to have Veolia extend the contract to 120 water in the amount of $761,721.28 per year, plus a one-time fee of $39,750 for the first year contract. This will extend the contract from July 1, 2025 until June 30th, 2028. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the contract, Veolia and 120 water.
Hanley, second.
It's properly moved and second. Hearing no other questions, all in favor?
Donovan, aye.
Hanley, aye.
Lombardo, I.
Billman, aye.
Sunderland, aye. Thank you. Move on to number 9, the limit account increases. Stephen or Dave, who wants to take the lead on the increases?
I can, I guess, start, and then turn to Dave. So, as we discussed in some of our orientation meeting and then at last month's meeting, Veolia, and as Charlie has mentioned, Veolia subcontracts certain types of works to third parties under what we have termed limit accounts. Okay, and within their base fee, there is a limit account budget under 4 types of accounts. And that's a mandatory spend, that they must spend at least that amount annually. If they reach that amount or exceed the amount as a result of necessary work, they come to the board to seek increased authorization. And that was done intentionally by the board as a kind of checks and balances process, okay? So in the previous months, the board has given additional authorizations for 3 of the 4 limit accounts. And Veolia is forecasting through the end of the fiscal year that additional authorizations will be required because there is additional work that's ongoing. The most kind of intuitive example is when there's a water main break, it needs to be fixed. You can't delay that. And so as on occasion, there are times where Veolia uses a contractor to do that work. They need to authorize that in an immediate basis and then reimburse or pay the contractor for that work. That type of work is under the limit account called high priority repairs or lead service lines, okay? That's just an example. At last month's meeting, you authorized a transfer of reserves from your reserves to what we call the structural account excess limit fund in the city. And that number, which you authorized last month, was based on a forecast to get you to the end of the fiscal year. Okay, so Peter now has the budget where he can pay for this additional work. What is now missing is the board giving Veolia authorization to actually spend up to that amount. Okay, so that's what you're being asked for today. Veolia has prepared 3 letters, and I'll turn it over to David if you want to say any more on that.
Thank you, Stephen. David Hill, Veolia Water. Stephen described the process as the management agreement states. But I will say at 80% is the mark. I mean, this is kind of atypical what we're doing here. In the past, without the board being present, it kind of hung us up on seeking approval for these things. Normally, we're out in advance, well advance of this. And you can look historically at the spans here. This is the typical letter that we put together whenever there's limit account increases. We've got 3 different letters. Now we have the high priority repair and lead services. And we currently expect that we're going to need another $2,550,000 to cover the end of the year. Second one is the specialty preventive maintenance limit account. Again, we've shown kind of some historical spends on what we spent on that and what we expect to spend in contract year 15. There is a list of ongoing projects that are associated with this funding. Currently, we need an increase to make it to the end of the year, and we're going to be requesting $800,000 besides. The last item is the spoils increase, and the spoils, that's just soil and debris that those that don't know, that the crews, distribution crews dig up when they replace mains. There's always spoils, they call it, that we got to dig up, and we can't put that back in the ground, and we got to haul it off site and put fresh stuff in that repair area. So again, set up the same way. You can see the last few years spending and what we expect to spend this year. Right now, we need another $35,529.75 to make it to the end of the year. That's it for these 3 accounts.
And I might suggest, Charlie, that this could be in one resolution, but they each have to be delineated.
So Charlie, we can do these as one
Yes, you
motion.
can
with this-
think it's one motion, but clearly identifying each of the categories.
Board, are there any other questions regarding these limit accounts? We talked about in the last meeting and today. All right, so is there a motion that do this in one motion to increase the high priority repairs and lead service lines increase to the account of $2,550,000? The second part of the motion is the specialty preventative maintenance limit account. We're going to increase that by $800,000. And the last one is the spoils limit account. And the request is to increase that by $35,529.75. Is there a motion to approve these increases to the limit accounts?
Hanley, I'll make a motion to approve the increased spending for the high priority repairs, the special preventative maintenance limit account, and the spoil limit account.
Bill in second.
It's been properly moved and second. Unless there's any other questions, all in favor?
Lombardo, I.
Hanley, aye.
Sunderland, aye. All right, thank you, everybody.
If I could interrupt for a second, I was just advised that Chairman Gould is on. I just wanted to make sure he was introduced on the meeting.
Hello, all.
Yeah.
Good morning.
I
Morning, Brian.
apologize, hi, everybody. The mayor has been sick for a couple of days, and we just had I had to cover some events this morning related to 514. So I apologize about not being there again. But I am alive, and this too shall pass, and we'll be there on a regular basis. So hello.
No worries. Thank you. All right, board, we're going to move on to item number 10, which is claims. Charlie, I'm going to turn this over to Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie Martirana, Council. So the Corporation Council is investigated a variety of claims. If you look at the proposed resolution, the third page, which is Exhibit A, there is a schedule of 6 claims that the Corporation Council has recommended for settlement and is requesting that this board approve the payment of these out of the monies that are basically Buffalo Water Board funds. And these are claims that arise typically from some form of personal injury or property damage that involves Buffalo Water Board assets or operations in some manner. I can't really speak to the specifics of each of these claims, but rest assured that they have been filed in a timely manner and investigated by the Corporation Council. Robert Quinn is the attorney there that usually manages the claim process and goes through with investigators a thorough investigation and discovery of who did what when, if you will, and comes to these conclusions of numbers and amounts as after negotiation with whoever would be the plaintiff. Some of them may not arise to the level of full lawsuit, but people who claim that they've been injured will file a notice of claim with the Buffalo Water Board and with the Corporation Counsel's office. And that notice of claim specifies usually all of the detail of what is in the claim. And again, it is investigated and pursued. Many claims notices come to the Buffalo Water Board and Corporation Council office and are not given much merit, but some are. And these have risen to that level. And it is in the interest of the Water Board, as recommended by the Corporation Council, to approve these and essentially avoid any further discovery, time involved in investigation, and certainly the cost and inefficiencies, if you will, of pursuing any litigation. So they come to a recent judgment on that point. And so I would recommend that you go ahead and approve these settlements and authorize the payment of them.
All right, so board, we have before us a resolution to approve these claims on Exhibit A. I'll just read them down through. Item 1 is Rosemary Mescal, $733.50. Item 2 is Robert Hartman, $1,250. Juneteenth Festival, Inc., $15,000. George Loncar, $20,516.70. Federal Insurance Company and Pacific Indemnity Company, $250,000. And item 6 is Maria Jawad and Fuad Boo Jawad for $9,000. So board, is there a motion to approve this resolution for these claims?
Just I had a couple questions. So Charlie, so some of them are just a notice of claim. Some of them were commenced. Were any actually commenced?
I don't know the answer to that. Rob Quinn would have that. He really did not distinguish what is just a notice of claim and what, if any, have going into lawsuit.
And this is Brian Gould. Yeah, I mean, I apologize because I'm looking at this from a phone parked in a vehicle. But so this is all the information. Is there more in Exhibit A that I'm not seeing as far as some details related to these claims? Are they all specific to, I'm not sure if it's some type of injury or is it property or what are these specific to?
Brian, Charlie Martirani here. That is, it's a combination of personal injury as well as property. We don't really have a lot of specificity as provided by the Corporation Counsel's office. They have in essence indicated that they've received those claims and they've reviewed them, investigated them, and come to this conclusion.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll speak for myself. I'd like some more specificity.
All right.
I'd like a little more detail to these 6 items before we move them.
That's fine. We can ask the Corporation Counsel's office for that information, a little bit more detail on each one, so that you'll make a more informed judgment.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, so just for completeness, Robert Quinn did attend one of the coordination meetings, not both of them, and did talk through each one of these claims, and recommended after their investigation that they believe this is the appropriate course to avoid much greater possible cost and risk of liability. I have the impression that these settlements are very small amounts relative to the claims. Like the claim number 5, I think is only 1/10, it's 10% of the actual claim. The claim was 2.5 million or somewhere in that range. But that I'm not suggesting you should approve. I'm just, for completeness, Rob Quinn did attend one of the coordination meetings. We could have him provide a written statement, or he could come to the next board meeting, you know, whatever your preference is.
I think it would be helpful.
Yeah.
If he could attend, so we could ask some questions like, what was the compromised amount? You know, what was the status of each case?
Yeah.
Which ones were commenced? Which were just notice of claim? The investigation that was had, how did they come to the conclusion?
That's all appropriate. Certainly, you're entitled to more information. It just becomes a question of how much more info you want.
All right, board,
Well, and I think, this is Brian Gould again, Scott Billman, I mean, to your point, and you'll know better as an attorney, listen, I know there was a verbal communication, at one of the working sessions, but this has to be, I think, presented in some type of, at a board meeting or what have you, where it's more public, but I don't know how much can be provided in writing. Again, Scott, I'm not sure if you know more than that, but yeah, we have to have some detail, as far as not only for us to make an informed decision, but so there's some type of, public, awareness of this. If someone inquired, we can't just have names on an exhibit and amounts next to them and check off that we approve these. I would definitely like some more detail on how that can be provided. I don't know if that's in written form, if it's Rob coming to a meeting and both. But that's where I'm at.
okay, I think at this point, it's Bill Sunderland. I think at this point, we're gonna have a motion to table this item until either
Yep.
we can have either something in writing or something, have Rob Quinn in person to discuss them. Brian,
Great.
informally, Rob did go through, at one of the coordination meetings, he went through these and talked about them, what the initial claim was and what they were the result of. To my recollection, the majority of these were water main breaks that flooded basements.
Well,
So,
okay, Bill, I'm glad you just brought that up. That's my next question, because I think all of us, and Bill is the knowledgeable, experienced one as far as the new members go. But to that point, I mean, I don't know what the tariff says of the water board, but the responsibility, the liability, if we are responsible for a main break and a basement floods, and we're paying out claims to all those, that's going to get awful expensive. If we pay those every incident. So I don't know what the criteria are. I don't know what our liability is related to that. Again, other utilities don't do that. So I just wanted to, we have to get grounded a little bit in that myself, or Steve, maybe you can, or Charlie, maybe you can touch on that a little bit as far as responsibility related to a main break and it impacting a basement or what have you.
Well, generally, this is Charlie Martirana. Generally speaking, there is a certain immunity that the Buffalo Water Board, the city would have. But there are situations where notices have been lodged and the water board and the city may have come to know that a certain water line may be defective or can cause damage. There are lots of factual issues surrounding any particular claim. And so at a general basis, there are defenses that the city and the water board could assert. But then again, when people file claims, they believe that they're entitled to some kind of compensation for their loss, whatever it is. And so now you have an issue joined, and it becomes a question of each side can say, you owe me, and the other side can say, no, I don't. But then at some point, there would be potentially a compromise without admitting any liability and a request for release of liability, and in exchange for some payment. So again, this is high level, generally stated type of answer to you without specificity as to each one. But that's where I think we are. And as to the specifics of these, I really have to defer to Rob Quinn, who handled these, and he could come in just as you asked, and I'm sure he'd be glad to do so.
Well, so in general, and this is again for, I guess, Peter or Charlie or Steve, in general, is there language, whether it's in the enabling legislation, whether it's in a tariff or what have you, that indemnifies the water board from incidents like these? However, I understand that these are taken on maybe a case by case basis, but is there language that indemnifies?
In Charlie Martirana here, in the financing agreement by and between the Buffalo Water Board, the City of Buffalo, and the Municipal Water Finance Authority, there is a provision for indemnification as between the City of Buffalo and the Water Board. Significantly, that's there because the Buffalo Water Board uses the employees of the City of Buffalo, does not have its own employees. So there is language in there of broad form indemnification. That is not in what you refer to as the tariffs, which are basically imposition of charges and rates that go onto the community and the users of the system. So there would be a discussion, if you will, between the Buffalo Water Board and the City of Buffalo as entities as to who owes what. And in this case, again, Rob Quinn would have made some judgment as to these dollars somehow should be paid by the Buffalo Water Board. Again, it's a conversation we would need to pursue with him as to how that may be allocated, if at all.
Yeah, all right. And I won't, but I also think it's a conversation within the water board itself as far as policy. Because if there is indemnification related to infrastructure, not so much employees, I mean, main breaks, natural causes of incidents that, can cause property damage, things like that. So I would just like to, vet that a little further. I mean, outside of this Exhibit A or these claims, it just might be something that we have to look at moving forward, because as you know, these can come in on a fairly frequent basis. And if there's some indemnification related to infrastructure, we may have to take a different approach related to internal water board policy. So,
hey, Brian, Bill Sunderland. Brian, just for, I guess, historical sake, we generally don't see a great deal of claims come through the water board. So we don't see these monthly. We just don't see them that often. So I can't even remember the last set we even saw. So.
Brian, I can comment from a lay perspective. The reason we don't see many claims is that the city does vigorously defend the water board and does exercise the means that you are indicating, Brian. I don't know the legal terms of that, but there is some form of protection. And this is relatively rare that they bring a recommendation to pay claims. But that doesn't mean it's a very good discussion. It's a very good learning point for all of us. Let's, if we table, we can invite Rob Quinn to come to the meeting.
Yeah,
right,
just from where I'm coming from, just so everyone knows from where I'm coming from, is that, we wouldn't need, if we had this on the books at the water board related to indemnification, or it's, other utilities do have this. So you're not expending a lot of resources especially when, okay, you have this hybrid form of this, like as the water board is, we're not using corp counsel to vigorously defend. We're not, spending a lot of resources from their end, our end. If there is a set policy that says, if there's a main break within the system, that causes we are indemnified. And again, I'm not saying that's where we're going. It's just worth a discussion because that's exactly what you said, Steve. The Corporation Counsel is defending these and several other claims related to the city's properties and infrastructure. So if there was a policy set or if it was in some type of language within the Buffalo Water Board, we might have to go that route of such a vigorous defense. It's our policy. You can, file, and maybe it can be a different approach related to that. Just open for discussion.
Right, I think at this,
Yeah.
Brian, I think at this point, we're gonna look at making a motion to table this until we can get Rob Quinn to present the specifics on this. So is there a motion to table this item?
Hanley, I'll make a motion to table after lengthy conversation. Make a motion to table this agenda item until Rob Quinn from council gives us more information.
Billman second.
All right, we have a motion and a properly second. Hearing no other questions, all in favor?
Hanley, aye.
Lombardo, I.
Donovan, I.
Sunderland, aye. All right, the motion has been
Gould,
tabled.
aye.
Bill, if I may, Charlie Martirana here. We need to go back, if you will, please, to the capital improvement plan. This is part of the planning process that we talked about before. And as Stephen pointed out, I need to amend this. Stephen properly pointed out that the plan is one that is being approved by the Buffalo Water Board. It's also going to be submitted to the Water Finance Authority and then on to the Common Council. We need to add the fact that under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, the Buffalo Water Board will be the lead agency for that planning process. So that it's clear that this board will undertake that state environmental quality review before the plan is ultimately approved in full. Okay, so I would request that the resolution be adding that provision with regard to the Buffalo Water Board being the lead agency for the planning under the State Environmental Quality Review Act.
Would this be like 5A?
You could just add it, I think, to 5, make it part of the plan. If you want to do 5A, that's fine.
I think I'm going to do it as a separate item. We've already approved the capital plan. So
Either way.
So as Charlie pointed out, we need a resolution to appoint the Buffalo Water Board as the lead agency for the environmental impact.
And what, no, we're not going to do an impact. This is just the review.
Oh.
So we would do a very simple, at this high level type of plan, assessment that is done.
Environmental assessment.
Right.
All right, so is there a motion to approve Buffalo Water Board as the lead agency for the environmental assessment for the capital improvement plan that was previously approved on item A? Your motion?
Hanley, I'll make a motion that we approve Buffalo Water Board to act as the lead agency or seeker, if you will, for this capital plan.
That's it. Thank you.
Billman second.
Been properly moved and second. Hearing no other questions, all in favor?
Hanley, aye.
Billman.
Lombardo, I.
Donovan, I.
Sunderland, aye. Thank you.
Gould, aye.
Sorry about that, Brian.
Oh, no problem, no problem.
All right, we're going to move on to item number 11, report from GHD.
Yes, Stephen Waldvogel, GHD. Thank you, Chairman. As we are getting to know each other, I think the different board members have seen the different activities that GHD has been performing on your behalf. Over time, I think you'll get to see more of the traditional engineering services. The last few months has been more of coordination. And so I look forward to that moving forward. I have two people in attendance that will give just a brief update on a couple of things. So I'm going to ask Christine to just give a brief update on a function that was recently held in coordination with the Common Council, and then Dustin can touch on some of the construction issues. Go ahead, Christine. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Good morning, board. Christine Wingo, GHD. We have been involved immensely with two community partners, Open Buffalo and Community Health Center of Buffalo, who participated this past Saturday on May the 3rd from an original event that was planned on the 25th of April by Council Member Zanetta Everhart in conjunction with Infinite Possibilities with Faustinia Morrow. That event was to inform and participate with the public and inform them about lead awareness and lead pipe removal from their homes if lead is detected in their particular residence. It was attended by several community partners and residents. The beginning of the day began with cleaning of the neighborhoods associated around Canisius College and around the city of Buffalo. And then they came to Canisius College at the conclusion of the day to participate with a community panel discussion, which involved including the public and giving them information around different aspects of how to make their environment clean and get things done for the community so that they know what services are available to them. So 311 was present as well as GHD with the table for Get Water Wise. We distributed information, pamphlets, and giveaways around that information. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions on that? Dustin?
Dustin Steiner, GHD. Morning, board. As we discussed earlier on item number 6, we're continuing with our flood mitigation project. We're fixing, repairing, replacing the city, the water board's asset here, Outfall 6. Came under some needed repairs. We're also, and that and basically punch list items will wrap that contract up at the end of June here. The electrical upgrades contract here at Colonel Ward is ongoing. We're in our last stretch of that contract as well. We're just installing some motor protection relays for our high service pumps here at Colonel Ward, and the majority of that project is complete. If anyone has any questions on either of those or any other, I'd be happy to answer. Thank you, board.
Anything else, Stephen?
No.
Okay. All right. Thank you, GHD. Item number 12, Veolia. David?
Thank you, Mr. Sunderland. David Hill, Veolia. I did actually print copies out for board members. If you'd like to take one, I do not expect you to thumb through them right now. But some find it more handy to review a paper copy than electronic because there is quite a bit of information.
This November storm.
Again, this document is a summary of operations day in, day out of what we do for the utility. I am going to kind of pick through it and highlight a few things. From an affordability perspective, we've got nearly 2,000 customers signed up for our affordability program. We're going to continue to push that, and that's a program where customers, based on their income, can get discounts on their utility bills. The Buffalo 65 Senior Program, we currently have 4,418 customers enrolled there. Our Promise Pay program has 88 customers enrolled in it. The Promise Pay program is really a unique way for customers to pay their bills. It's a custom arrangement between the customer and Promise Pay, all in an effort to make a good path for the customers to meet their obligations. Buffalo Water excuse me, the, Buffalo Water, we do have, payment plans on the Buffalo Water side, and we've got 442 customers enrolled in those. Something I wanted to mention as far as a capital improvement that's ongoing is the basin improvements that the board's investing in. We're nearly complete with that project, and that project's installing a pump station basically to remove sludge out of the basins and into our lagoon. And why that's so important is this, the employees out there, it's a very strenuous job. It's dangerous. You must move large hoses, must move large pumps. This will be a much more effective and efficient way to transfer this material from one unit process to another. And again, we've had to start off the old way this summer, going down into basins, but we hope to complete this station and test it and commission it during this summer. And going forward, we'll be able to utilize it. Want to speak a bit about an emergency repair we have going on the south side. Doug, do you want to step through that on
Sure.
where we're at?
Doug Foltz, Veolia Operations. We are continuing to work with our partners at CSX and with Wendell to facilitate repairs to a 40-inch transmission. It's on the vicinity of the intersection of Pearl and Lower Terrace, I believe. Finally have some approvals from CSX, which is great. It's actually much quicker than we were anticipating. We have the parts, I believe, Mike, are in at this point, or coming in this week. So hopefully within the next week and a half, we can get the 48-inch. So.
Couple other items, we continue to work with GHD on some sanitary survey improvement opportunities that the Department of Health identified. GHD's put together a plan, and we will be starting to correct those deficiencies in the next 3 months. Lastly, we're working with GHD and Peter and Floyd, and we're actively trying to identify revenue capture opportunities based on the current financial situation, that we're facing. We've been holding workshops on it and nearly ready to release a white paper on it. That's all I have for this month. Thank you, Board.
Great, thanks, David. Board, any other questions for GHD or Veolia?
Do we have a sense of what percentage of the total customer base is on some sort of affordability plan or payment plan?
Percentage, you gave the numbers, right?
Yeah, I would say you're probably,
Total cost.
you're probably around 10%.
I think it's actually less than 10.
It's a little less, 7 to 10%, somewhere in that range.
Hey, Emerson.
We,
It's on a Zoom call.
What-
What can I help you with?
About the.
Yeah, did you get a copy of it?
I did, no,
Yeah.
there's one in there.
Hey, Nate, can you mute your phone? There we go.
I did, we've done analyses in the past. And as kind of an indicator, as opposed to anything else, approximately 50% of your customers actually incur interest, meaning they pay late. More than the 30 days. So, and that varies from time to time. But this has been a struggle and an ongoing struggle in terms of, your customer base ability to pay, afford it, and then pay in a timely way, so.
And Stephen, this goes back pre-COVID.
Oh, yeah,
Right? I
this
mean,
is.
it goes back a
yeah,
long
yeah.
ways, and I think it was even stated that 50% of the people who are on payment plans generally fall off. Is that?
That's fair.
It's,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. They start off well.
I'm sorry. If you look at the report, page 5, there is a chart that refers to the affordability, the customer assistance program.
Oh, yes, okay.
As well as the roll program, lead line replacement. That'll give you specific numbers.
Thank you.
Anything else for
No.
Veolia? All right, before we adjourn to executive session. Next meeting I have for June 11th. Second Wednesday of the month. Everybody okay with that date so far? Okay.
Yeah. Bill, along that line, does it make sense? I'm asking the whole board for us to have the coordination meetings as we did this month, a week prior at two different times, two different 1 hour slots. I think we probably can do it virtually. We don't
Right.
have to meet in person.
Right.
But we ran through that this month and we're willing to continue that practice if that's what your preference is or, so that would be the 4th then. June 4th, I think, Wednesday morning. If it suits you and you think that's a good pattern for now, we will set up those coordination meetings as well.
I personally think it's helpful for everybody. I attend all of the coordination meetings and it just makes the meetings run that much smoother.
I agree. It was very helpful.
I agree with Vice Chair. It was very helpful.
I agree.
Okay.
So next meeting, June 11th. Location, we plan on trying to have it back at City Hall.
Yeah.
Unless there's a conflict for the room. And then if there isn't, or there is, then we will have it here at the plant. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn to executive session? Once we go into executive session, we will have, Charlie will give us an update on litigation matters. And then we will have a motion to come out of executive session, and then we'll have a motion to come out of the meeting. So for everybody else, this is the end of the meeting. So, is there a motion to go into executive session?
For litigation matters.
For litigation matters.
Bill will make the motion to go into executive session for litigation matters.
Second.
It's been properly motioned and second. All in favor?
Bill and I.
Donovan, aye.
Handley, aye.
Lombardo, I.
Wait for you, Brian. Sunderland, aye. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Hello?